this is your health on the line. Yes, it's about weighing what you want, but it's also your health. And it teaches you how to weigh what you want and heal your relationship with your body and food. And just no one else is teaching that. I mean, not a lot of people. A lot of people are teaching, again, a version of calories in, calories out, or macros or whatever. Again, not wrong or bad, but it doesn't work for most people who have been yo-yoing their whole life. Instead, it just feeds the diet brain.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Earn Your Happy podcast. You guys, today in place of the quickie, you know that we love to have some people on the podcast as like a surprise guest, or maybe we didn't want to wait for the interview to come out, or maybe we're highlighting someone that we met and we're like, you have to be on the show. And Chris and I have decided to highlight some people from our community. And we have someone on the show who joined the dinner series and has just been someone who stood out, like one of those people that you meet and you're like, wow, you are absolutely incredible. I want to put you on a platform because you're somebody who is doing amazing things in the community and having incredible success, and your clients are having success. And so the woman I have on today is Laura Conley. We actually heard of Laura quite a while ago, a couple of years ago, through my sister-in-law, Jackie Koch, who has had such an incredible physical transformation and mental transformation. And she really gives a lot of credit to Laura, who we have on the podcast today. And, you know, Jackie and I stay together for summers at our lake house, and they come and stay for 2 months, and it's the best family time ever. And she would have these great conversations with Laura, who was her coach at the time. And I was like, my God, like this woman is so wise. And clearly she's also completely changing your life. So when we got to have Laura in one of our programs, it was incredible. And we just knew that we wanted to have her on the podcast because of just her approach to how she creates this transformation. So you guys, Laura Conley is a certified life and weight loss coach, and she has been lovingly labeled the fun weight loss coach, believe it or not. This can be fun, and this was labeled by her clients. Laura helps mamas and women who have been painfully struggling with diet drama to lose weight for the last time and free themselves from food drama forever. She is on a crazy mission to do this so that her clients can pass down a beautiful legacy to their children around food and their bodies and what they want to weigh and how they want to be in the world and how they want to live and dream without the drama that they have. And she does this through coaching her clients on balancing their hunger hormones, rewiring their brains, feeling their emotions, providing loving accountability, and becoming their own bestie. And you guys, if you want to check out Laura, she has given us an amazing coupon code for all of you. You can use code Lori and you're going to get $250 off the program, you guys. So her link is in the show notes. It's Laura Conley, LauraConley.com. And if you use code Lori, you'll get $250 off if you feel called to coach with her. But you guys, let's get into this episode. And I have Chris on here with me because we both do the dinner series together. So let's get started.
Laura Conley, welcome to both of our shows.
We are so excited to have you on. We've actually known about you for quite a while, but you are on the series that we are calling Just Like You, where you are quite a few steps ahead or a few steps ahead or just a few steps ahead, depending on who is listening. And we love this series because it takes people who have actually invested in themselves and invested in our rooms and our courses as well, so that people can know, like, these are people just like you who decided to take the big leap into their dream life, into their dream career. So thank you so much for coming on. I know that you have this incredible brand, the Yummy Mummy, which that is just the greatest name, first of all. So we're going to dive into your story.
Yeah, and you actually want to start by talking about how it is that we know about her ahead of time, long before this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is the best story. So, you know, my what do we call her? We call her like a
Sister-in-law
sister-in-law who's been in the family now for over 10 years, Jackie Koch. And we had ended up living together for a while during the pandemic. And she was so excited that she got this new coach. And she would say, "Oh my God, I'm working with this new woman named Laura. And she is literally like changing my life. You need to like listen to her. You need to learn all these things." And she would come out from each coaching session that she would have with you and like make us sit down literally and teach us and tell us about these things. And I'm not even kidding you. It was like so good. And I was like, I love her approach. It's very unique. It was different. It's refreshing. And it felt like a lifestyle that people could actually maintain. And, you know, knowing Jackie's story that she had always struggled with food and body image and, you know, feeling like she just wasn't where she wanted to be physically, it was so cool to see her feel really empowered and make changes that stuck.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't talk now because I'm blushing. That is like the nicest intro that I have ever gotten. So thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm just like beaming and now blushing.
Literally our pleasure. So I always like to start by taking you back to somewhere that the listeners can really relate to, right? And I think your moment is probably the moment that you were in your bathroom and you had just gotten out of the shower. Don't worry, I'm going somewhere wholesome with this. And you had this moment where you decided that you needed to make a change in the way you viewed yourself and in the way you viewed your body. And this was kind of the catalyst of it all.
Yeah.
Do you mind taking us back there and telling that story?
Yeah. So I was 6 weeks postpartum. I had just had my daughter, Luna, who is now 6.5.
Great name.
Oh, thanks. And she, of course, was in the bathroom with me because, you know, we were like inseparable at that point. But we had actually just gotten home from a 3-week stint in the NICU, which, you know, if you want like life thrown in your face and just like the preciousness of it, like go do a 3-week stint in the NICU. So we had just come out of the NICU. And I'm standing there butt naked, and I sort of have this out of body experience where I'm kind of watching myself beat myself up for not snapping back, for not bouncing back into my pre-baby jeans. And I was like, this stops now, because she's like cooing up at me. We had like a near death experience. So I'm like, this is it. Like this stops here, because if you keep beating yourself up for the way that your body looks, you're going to pass that down to her. And I knew in that moment, I was like, I know I can say all the right things, right? Because of course, at this point, I had struggled for 20 years with yo-yo dieting and hating my body and loving my body, but it was really fake. I didn't actually really love it. And I knew I would pass it down to her, even if I said the right things. I think that there's this notion that our children's inner voices are the way that we speak to them, right? Like the way that they talk to them as adults is the way that we're talking to them when they're children. But I think it's a step further. I really think it's the way we talk to ourselves becomes their inner dialogue, because I knew in that moment she would catch me trying on 12 different outfits when she's 8 years old. She would catch me turn away from my husband when he inevitably went to like grab my ass in the kitchen or whatever, right? And I knew I would pass it on. And I was like, over my dead body, is she going to be sitting at the lunch table as a sophomore in high school trying to eat 80 calories like I did with my friends? I was like, that is no life for her. And we just got her life back. So we are going to do everything in our power to heal this. Previous to that, I had accepted defeat. I was like, you know what? This is just going to be kind of my lot in life. I'm just always going to be gaining or losing. I'm always going to be on a green juice cleanse or, you know, eating an entire pizza and a bottle of wine. Like I had just accepted defeat. And I was like, Laura, you know, it's not even that bad. Like, come on, people have way worse problems. But when she was sitting there looking up at me and I'm beating myself up, I'm like, this has to stop now. So I really went on a mission to solve it for her and for me. Like, I am going to heal my relationship with my body and with food and weigh what I want, because I knew there had to be a middle path. Prior to that, I was so black and white. I was so all or nothing. And she really was kind of my muse. And I just went in this deep dive of healing it, my relationship again with food, my body, and actually being healthy. And when I finally cracked the code, which I kind of even can't believe that I did sitting here today because I struggled with it for so long, it was like that same wave of purpose came over me. And I'm like, I have to help the other moms and women because so many of us are trapped in diet culture. And so I finally felt like I had this secret or this holy grail that, is elusive for so many of us. And I went on a mission to really, I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but launched the Yummy Mummy and now have helped, hundreds of women do the same. And it still blows my mind that this is something we can do.
If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that my husband and I are huge takeout people. Like all we do is get our meals out because by the time the day is over, we are so exhausted. And living in California, we have some pretty decent options. But I have to tell you, recently we spent 2 months in Wisconsin at our lake house, and we were grilling out like every single night because they really don't have DoorDash there. So what we noticed is that we just felt so much better cooking meals at home. Except the downfall was that, again, I'm tired. It's exhausting. I don't know what to cook every single night. And that is why Chris and I decided to try HelloFresh. HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. So you also can skip the trips to the grocery store, and you can count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And can we say that you get to save on the tips as well? So we all know home cooked meals are so much better for you, but we don't always have the time to pull it off. But with HelloFresh handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's super easy to get dinner on the table in a quick and painless way. So the coolest part is that it's easily customizable. You can customize your meals with protein or veggie swaps. And don't forget to check out HelloFresh Market for more delicious add-on items to jazz up your weekly deliveries. So you guys, this is so cool because HelloFresh is offering free breakfast for life if you go to hellofresh.com/free-earn. One free breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life just by going to hellofresh.com/free-earn, FREEEARN, free-earn. I want to take a minute to tell you about Found. Most of you are business owners who listen to this podcast, and imagine if you no longer needed 5 separate apps for your business bank account, your expense tracking, your invoicing, your contractor payments, and your tax planning. And now there's one that does it all, and that is Found. Found is business banking designed for small business owners just like you. I love the automatic expense tracking because I am horrible at saving receipts, especially while I'm traveling, and keeping track of my bank statements. You guys, there are so many awesome testimonials about Found. And Trustpilot says, I've never seen an app for freelancers, contractors, and business owners that has everything they need with such automation. So you can try Found for free at found.com/earn, and you can sign up for Found for free today at found.com/earned. That's FOUND.com/earn. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services are provided by Piermont Bank, member FDIC. Found's score features are free. They also offer an optional paid product, Found Plus. You guys, let's get back to the show.
I know Lori wants to jump in and ask you about the launching of Yummy Mummy, but I actually want to jump in before she does and say this is something that both men and women struggle with. Like my whole life, as far as I can remember, it's been, I look good this morning. And then later, like, what do you mean we're going to the beach? I look like crap. Like I shouldn't have eaten that. It's really a crazy thing for both men and women. And you mentioned you cracked the code. So I have to ask, what is the code that you cracked? Like, save us, save us.
How long do you have? No, I'm just kidding, Chris. Okay, so that's such a great question. And I just want to highlight what you said too. Men struggle with this for sure. So I happen to have my son 2 years later, and this is as much for him as it is for my daughter. My husband struggled with it too. Like, I'm still like, let's go to the pool. He's like, oh, I don't know if I can go to the pool, because he always got teased for being too skinny. And so like, we all get this, right? And so the code, what is the code?
Yes.
Okay.
Save us.
So I think a lot of us really believe that it's like, I need this perfect diet. Like, I need to track certain points. Or I think a lot of us think it's like, if we just work out harder and eat less, then that's it. Or some version of Weight Watchers or tracking macros. And that's not to demonize those. Like, if that works for you, great. It just never worked for me. So what worked for me, and this is like very high level, this is a quick summary for me. What really worked was balancing my hunger hormones, which really just means balancing my blood sugar, because then I wasn't like a hangry monster. My husband and I used to get in all these nothing fights all the time, like after work, because I hadn't eaten for 8 hours, because I was like trying to starve myself. And he was like, I think it's your hanger. And of course I attacked him immediately, but then I was like,
Probably not the best thing to say at that point, right?
Yeah. Because I'm hangry. But then I reflected and I'm like, you know what? You're totally right. So that was step one. It was really learning to balance my hunger hormones so that I felt energetic and could weigh what I want. But a lot of it for me was mindset. So like real true habit change. Like, I really studied habit change, because I felt like I was very successful in other areas of my life. Like, why couldn't I do that here? And it's really because I wasn't taught how to weigh what I want permanently. I was taught how to diet. I wasn't taught. Yeah, I wasn't actually taught how to do this permanently and how to think in such a way that supported it. So mindset, emotions was a huge part of it. I thought I was pretty emotionally intelligent. Like, I went to school for psychology. I already was I had been a coach for like 7 years at that point already. And I found out through all my research, this maniacal mission I went on, that I was like a huge emotional eater. But I wasn't an emotional eater in the way that our culture depicts it, right? Like, it wasn't like I'd have this crazy stressful day and then come home and eat a pint of ice cream. No, it was like, I'm a little bored, so I'm going to go grab a handful of nuts. Or like, I deserve a reward because my boss just sent me like a mean email, right? Or, you know what, this party isn't that fun, so I'm just going to have a second cupcake to make it more fun. Anytime we are eating and we're not hungry and it's an emotional eat, it's not bad or wrong to eat for emotional reasons. It just wasn't serving me. So really cracking that unlocked a lot. I also found a lot of peace around loving accountability with myself. I thought I couldn't honor my word. I thought I just like didn't come with that gene. I always would watch my husband like set New Year's resolutions and not tell anybody and then just achieve them. And I always had to tell everybody and make it this big challenge. And it's like, no, Laura, you can actually learn the skill of honoring your own word and following through on that. Another piece of it was really learning, and I know this is like all over the internet, but really learning to enjoy the process. So that was all about letting go of what I call like the when then game or arrival fallacy, right? Like, when I weigh X, then I'm going to be confident. When I can fit into these jeans, then I'm going to be light and alive and sexy. It's like, no, how can I feel that and embody that now? And that actually then, I mean, you guys know this, becomes the fuel to actually create the goal. So really learning how to enjoy the process and having fun. And I think that's kind of what I've become known for, is like weight loss and fun together, because, you know, we're always taught that it's like grin and bear it or white knuckle it until the end and then you can quit. And it's like, no, we have to keep going. A huge part of it too was true self-love, like unconditional love for myself, for my body, and the way that my body looks. Like, there's kind of 3 pillars within self-love, and really learning what self-love meant. Because I think that's another concept that gets thrown around, but like, how do we actually practice that? So again, I know that's a long-winded answer, but
great answer.
That's kind of all the little parts of the code.
That's a great answer.
Some of the things you said, I'm just like, I just had such a moment for me where I never learned how to eat healthy either. It was either I was eating how I was raised or I was on a diet, and it took so much unwinding to do that. But I think people might be listening right now and they're like, oh my God, I never actually learned how to do that. And that can feel that can feel really unsafe and crazy at first, like because we're so used to, controlling and all of the things. So, and also to hear fun mixed in with, being healthy doesn't
what?
typically happen. So I love that. And if anybody knows Jackie Koch, who kind of connected all of us here, you'll know that fun has to be a part of it. So I love knowing that truly that is what you do.
It's really a strategy, honestly,
Mhm.
because if it's not fun, then you're going to quit. Inevitably, you're going to quit. And it doesn't mean that it's always like rainbows and daisies and unicorns and cupcakes. It's
Right.
not. But there are pieces that are uncomfortable. But I really believe that it is a strategy. And it's why this methodology or this code, whatever you want to call it, is permanent. Because you don't want to give up. You don't want to go back to the way that it used to be because it's actually better over here.
I want to hear, how important is accountability and community during this stuff and just like doing this with people? Just because I feel like for Jackie coming out of, I think you did some group things too, like doing this with other people. Is that an important piece of it?
It is so important that I will not coach people one-on-one from a place of integrity. I mean, I get people that are like, please, I'll pay you X, I'll pay you X. And I will actually coach dudes one-on-one. We call that the delicious daddy. But
It's so good.
My point is that for women, it has to be in a group. I genuinely will not do it because the community is so healing for this area of our lives, and because the accountability too. When you feel like, again, my program's 6 months, so there are going to be challenges. So inevitably, you're going to be having a moment, and somebody else just had that moment last week, and they can carry you forward. So it's like that quote, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go if you want to go far, go together. And that's truly how I feel. And my job would be so much easier if I just took one-on-ones, because so many people are like hesitant and I have to overcome that objection time and time again. But they always come out on the other side and they're like, the community is the best part because I felt supported. I didn't feel alone, right? It's like a human need to not feel alone and to feel connected. And if we get to feel connected in this part of our lives that feels kind of icky and vulnerable-y, like it's just so healing. I could go on and on, but yes, that's how important it is. It's so important.
I love that.
So I want to talk about you transferring from corporate America, where you said you had the golden handcuffs, to choosing to be self-employed and getting into this. I always had entrepreneurship in my blood, but it took me losing my career in the recession to force me into entrepreneurship. And while that was a really bad time, I also say it was a luxury because it forced my hand instead of having to make that scary jump of like, wait, I already have things really good. How dare I give that up and go do what I think I'm meant to do? And a lot of people struggle with that. They know what they want to be doing, but it's comfy over here, so they stay over here.
Yeah.
You were brave enough to make that transition. Would you talk us through that?
Yeah. I almost feel like the universe forced my hand.
Tell us.
I know that's kind of crazy. So I left corporate America to be a coach and a yoga and meditation teacher. And I can remember, it's so visceral, right? I can remember teaching my first class and coaching my first client. And I remember being like, oh crap. I don't know if I can swear on this podcast. So
You
I'll
can't.
Swear away.
Oh,
Swear away.
I was like, fuck. I was like, oh no. I was like, honestly was like, I didn't have a choice. That doesn't mean that there wasn't bravery and courage at play. There was, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But in those two moments, when I was coaching my first client and when I was teaching my first practice yoga class, whatever it was like a practicum, something came over me. It was like a calling. It was like an assignment from the universe. Like, you have to do this. And I remember I remember crying on the boardwalk in Santa Monica, running down the beach, being like, oh no, I have to do this. I do feel like kind of lucky in that because sometimes we don't get that. Now, let me give a caveat to that. I think I got that calling from the universe because I was so willing to explore my interests and to be curious. Like, I was always trying. I was rollerblading. Like now I'm into pickleball. Like, I'm always trying new weird hobbies, right? I'm always like doing the teacher training. So I will take some credit for it, But I put myself in that position, and then it felt like the universe was like, you have to do it. You have to give up your career. But all of those objectives came up for sure. It's like, what about health insurance? I mean, I had a very cushy job. I was a drug rep. I made good money. I had a corporate car. I had a corporate like credit card as well. It was just an easy, fun job, honestly, but it wasn't fulfilling. At the end of the day, I wasn't like, yes, I did it. It was like I was bringing bagels to doctors and bribing them to write my script, which was unfulfilling. But there was a lot of me overcoming what other people thought, right? And so I went to my husband and I'm like, I have to do this. I have to teach yoga and I have to be a coach. Like, can we please make a plan? We sat and he was very supportive. He's like, let's make a plan. So we had a plan to save up. It was like $35,000 over the course of the year. He had just started his career. He had just come out of his PhD program. And so I was still winning all the bread at this point. And I was like, but I have to do this. And he was like, all right. So we made a plan to save up. A week later, I'm sitting down at Starbucks in Manhattan Beach having coffee with my boss. And he's like, I just want to let you know before you hear it through the grapevine that we're going to be going through layoffs. You're not getting laid off, but we're going to be going through it. And I was like, oh, I need to be laid off. I need to be laid off. I need you guys
Please lay me off.
Yeah. I was like, I need you guys to give me a severance package. He's like, you're crazy. You're not becoming a yoga teacher. Like, how are you ever going to meet all of your goals that you say you have? My dad was in my ear saying the same thing because my dad was like not from an entrepreneurial line. He was very much like worked for the same company for 40 years, right? Like you work for corporate, it's safe, it's risk-free. So he was like, are you sure? Like, no, like what's the backup plan here? We're sitting at coffee. He's like, you're not quitting. I'm like, or you're not, you're not getting laid off. And then a week after that, we had a big company-wide corporate call and they were like, you can raise your hand to come forward and you can get voluntary severance. It was to the dollar, the same amount of money that my husband and I had planned to save over the course of the year.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And I was like, I was like, babe, we got to sit down and have a big talk. And he's like, well, there's nothing to talk about. He's like, obviously you're like, this is being handed to you on like a silver platter.
Wow.
So I took the leap, but it again, there was fear there. I can still feel it like viscerally, like taking that leap and like really, really putting in for that voluntary severance and that voluntary layoff because it was scary. But I kind of think like, okay, I can always go back. Like I can always, so I think that was kind of my safety net is like, I can always go get a job in corporate, but like, this is my chance. I don't have kids yet. I knew I wanted to have kids. This is my chance to launch into this. And so like, let's see. Let's just try it. And I think we forget that we are allowed to try things and then go back. I know I forget that all the time still.
I'm so grateful because this episode is brought to you by one of our sponsors, BetterHelp. You guys, these episodes aren't possible without getting incredible sponsors. So I want you to think about a time when you've really wanted to try something new. And I talk about it all the time on this podcast that it's so important to go and try new things, to have things to look forward to every single week. And some of us and some of you don't even know what that would be that would light you up. And therapy is one of those things that can really help you get to reconnect with who you really are and what lights you up again. And I also know that therapy is one of those things that can help you work through the fears around doing the new things that you know would reconnect you back to your soul, back to the fun, and back to the whole reason why you're here. A lot of times if we're feeling bored or anxious, it's because we're just not living in the way that we came here to live. And we're ignoring and avoiding all of those little nudges that we have to go and do the things that we want. I can tell you that I have pretty much always had a coach or worked with someone who is a therapist to help me to reconnect to myself and figure out why I'm feeling the feelings that I'm feeling. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Lori today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Lori.
So I don't know
just
if that
want to
answers
point,
your questions, but
no, it totally does. I want to make sure we recap for the listeners. One, it was not convenient timing, right? Your husband had just finished his PhD, and you're the breadwinner. So don't let that be an excuse.
yeah.
Two, you set the intention out there. You sat down and mathematically calculated, okay, what do we need to have set aside? Three, when you do that type of intention, a lot of times from the most unexpected sources, the universe will speed it up for you, but it won't unless you first sit down and call your shot, right? Unless you're first focused on something. And then third, your approach of, I can always go back, so why the hell not? And I want to throw a fourth one in there too. I can't wait to meet your husband, because we were talking offline, and that story you just told, he sounds like a really supportive, cool dude.
So supportive.
Yeah, I mean, he is.
That's awesome.
I feel like he has to be.
I mean, like,
I'm going to do it anyway.
Does he have another choice? Also, I had just supported him for like 7 freaking years during doing a PhD at USC. So
yeah,
this has kind of been our we sort of set up a deal like at a young age. I've been with him since I was 18. We've always kind of passed the baton back.
Same.
And it's yeah, so it's kind of cool.
That's great.
I
But
love
we had that deal from early on, and we had those conversations early on. So it was very on purpose, where I think sometimes like I can see some peers like kind of accidentally falling into roles where, I've been into, and I'm sure you guys too, like I was reading Chicken Soup for the Soul at like age 10. So I've always been into self-help. I've always liked it. So I think it was, kind of part of my personality, but it's not to say that you can't do it. Anyone can do it. Anyone can craft and I was very much into manifestation at the time, and I still very much am. So that was a lot of like me writing down exactly what I wanted to create and going.
And it happened.
But then writing down exactly what you wanted, writing down the plan, and then taking action on it. And I think that is the thing about manifestation is people are like, what exactly is manifesting? I'm like, it's having such a clear vision and connecting with it every single day and trusting that if you do that, everything else will be delivered, and it's like not crazy. It's literally like what even,
it's
very,
not crazy.
Yes. It's exactly what you should do. Even if you weren't manifesting, like you actually want to go through with this plan and believe that it can happen.
Totally.
Otherwise you're not going to get it. So, okay. For somebody listening who maybe doesn't know how to have those conversations with their partner, or they don't have that support yet, do you have anything for them to like kind of start that conversation?
I love that. So I would go back like 5 steps and start having conversations that feel a little bit more neutral. Like, hey, babe. I mean, I exclusively call my husband babe. So now my kids only call my husband
I
babe.
call her babe.
But
Same.
yeah, my son is like, babe, help me get dressed. Babe, get up here. Anyway, sorry. It's just so cute.
You're like, it's supposed to be said with more love than that,
Yeah,
but
he's
okay.
like, babe. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, am I being the role model I want to be with all this yelling? Okay. Anyway, so we call it like summit nights. We have summits once a week, but really it ends up being like once every 2 to 3 weeks, right? So sitting down and just talking about your future. Like you might have something that you really want to manifest, or you might have a plan that you want to start taking action on. But I think it's so much easier and more fun if you can include your partner. So if you do have a partner, including them in the conversation, like, hey, what do you want our lives to look like in 10 years? I'm a huge vision person. And so it's like, what do you want? Like, what do you envision? What do you not want? What about, like, my husband's a big fly fisherman. So I'm always like, kind of like, do you want to have a fly fishing cabin? Like, do we want to create that? So I think taking 5 steps back and just talking about your life together and the future together, 5, 10, 15, 20 years can start the dialogue and start the conversation. And then there's also the piece of like, it might feel like ass. Like it might just not feel good. And oh, well. So I think we're taught that like, if we feel fear or doubt, that means stop. And, again, I'm sure you guys teach this all day long, but for me, I try to remember like, oh, this means I'm doing it right. Oh, like I try to get a little high from like, oh, that doubt means that this is correct. So if you feel doubt or you feel scared, can you move towards those feelings? Can you move towards courage and have the conversation? Like you probably don't want to wait until you feel good to have the conversation.
Love that.
So again, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think it's also just great for the relationship. Like it's so much more fun when you're working towards something together. And I'm sure you guys
Totally
Yeah.
agree. Totally
So-
agree.
Yeah, just opening that conversation up the way that you said, like, or hey, can we do this together? Could we have these intentional evenings or something intentional? And it has to be set, and there has to be like
Mhm.
dates around it, and you have to decide how frequently you're going to do it. And it's going to feel corny at first if you're not used to it. Like it's
Yeah.
going to feel cheesy to people, like, oh, this is what we're doing. But it's Chris and I were just talking. We do this thing called the Power 9 every day, and we
Oh.
just said this morning to each other, I'm like, this has been maybe one of our biggest secrets to success in our marriage. And it's the most cheesy, simple thing done daily. It's just 3 gratitudes, 3 excited abouts, and 3 manifests that we
That
do
you have to say
every
to each
single
other
day
every
to
morning.
each other.
Ooh, that's so good.
But it's just it's literally just an intentional container with questions to open up everything else. So I love that you guys have that. Like I want to do that now. I want
Mhm.
Sunday
I know.
night.
I love
Yeah,
Sunday
well,
night.
I want to do that.
Oh, great.
We'll
We'll
trade.
swapsies.
We'll
This
trade.
is
That's
My
the whole
poor
point of doing
family.
these. That's the whole point of doing these, so we can get good ideas and
Yes.
solve them. Okay.
Amen.
I want to ask about your brand, the Yummy Mommy, and what was the other one? The Delicious Zaddy.
The delicious daddy.
Zaddy.
No, I mean it's really the yummy mommy. It's kind of the delicious daddy is sort of a joke, but I mean it's really not a joke because now I do have male one-on-one clients. Sometimes my clients want to send their husbands. So
It's amazing. Well, here's what I wanted to ask. Let's be honest. That's a very crowded space to stand out in.
Mm.
There's a lot of people that have their own methods, right, of getting healthy and working on mindset and all these things. But you've really found a way to stand out among the pack. What makes Yummy Mommy different than the other ones?
yeah, that's so good. So number one, it's fun.
Mhm.
And to your point, Lori, that can actually sound really frivolous or unsafe for people who have dieted or perfectionists or overachievers or higher achievers, whatever. That can actually feel scary because it feels unfamiliar.
Yep.
But again, it goes back to my point of like, well, let's just try it this way. If it doesn't work, you can go back to the old way. But don't worry, it will work.
That's
this
also
way.
not working.
Yeah, exactly. You already have all the data and all the proof that trying to make it so hard and arduous doesn't work. So let's try fun and easy most of the time. And then the other reason why I think it's really different and unique is because we really heal at the root. So going back to kind of what we talked about before, it's like if hunger isn't the problem, food is not the solution. And so oftentimes we're eating again when we're not hungry, and we just haven't been taught how to feel and process boredom, how to feel and process disappointment, resentment, any negative quote unquote emotion. So I think a lot of programs out there don't teach that. So it's really getting to the root so that it's permanent. So it's fun, it gets to the root. I could go on and on as well. I also talk about like how this is permanent and what to do to make it permanent. A lot of what's out there is like, yes, we're going to do this for, there's 75 hard and whole 30 and 21 day fix. It's like, there's really no end date. This is for life. I kind of teach it like let's pretend you never went to the dentist. And then at age 40, you go to the dentist. You're probably going to need like a 6-month immersion, which is how long my program is. You're going to need a root canal, right? You're going to need to get your teeth whitened and straightened. You're going to need a cavity filled. It's like, that's what we do. And then after that, I'm going to teach you how to brush your teeth, brush your brain, brush your habits every single day. And then you probably do need check-ins once every 6 months. And it's like, this is your health on the line. Yes, it's about weighing what you want, but it's also your health. And it teaches you how to weigh what you want and heal your relationship with your body and food. And just no one else is teaching that. I mean, not a lot of people. A lot of people are teaching, again, a version of calories in, calories out, or, macros or whatever. Again, not wrong or bad, but it doesn't work for most people who have been yo-yoing their whole life. Instead, it just feeds the diet brain. So that's why I think it's different. The community too. Like I'll give my clients a lot of credit because the community makes it really special. It does become like a sisterhood. Our retreats are super special and there's just a lot of connection that happens inside. So
Incredible.
So let's talk about marketing that just for people listening. Where would you say your clients come from? Because if we're going to take a totally different approach, the reason people keep going back to like the look good in this, look good at, or like 21 days till this is because marketing is like, it's hard. It's hard to get the clients in. And sometimes we do that just to like get them through the door, or people do that to get them through the door. So tell me where a lot of your clients come from. Are you doing, I think you had mentioned like some Facebook ads. Let's talk about where the brunt of your people are coming from.
it's word of mouth. It's honestly, it's all word of mouth. I mean, yes, there's some Facebook ads. Yes, there are sometimes I will guest on podcasts. I teach in a lot of other people's coaching programs. So it's organic in that way. So guesting on podcasts, teaching in other people's coaching programs, and my clients like do it for me a lot of the time because they're like walking around looking hot. And the other thing that I will tell you that I hear all the time is they aren't just walking around looking hot. It's their energy. They're different. There's something different that their friends want. They're like, ooh, I want that. They can tell because my client is embodying a real, true self-love kind of badassery, ability to have their own back.
For someone listening who was like, okay, how do we guest into other people's programs? Break that down so that they can understand how to like do that without infringing on someone else's program.
Yeah, totally. So I came up with a bunch of different talks that I could do. So I like to teach in other programs such as like I'll give you an example. My friend who's a business coach, emotional eating can come up a lot for entrepreneurs and business coaches. So I put together some bullet points and I sell it to her. It's like, I actually don't charge. And again, this would be an individual, preference. But I really most people are going to pay me maybe $1,000. Like I would rather come and teach and be able to be like, hey, come check out my podcast or come, let me give you my free Create Your Perfect Weight Loss Plan. Right. I would rather be able to go in and say, hey, or sometimes with my good friends, we'll do swaps. And that actually benefits me. I love for my clients to have their minds open to other coaches and other philosophies. And so sometimes we'll get a time management coach or a marriage coach. And so sometimes we'll do swaps as well. And that's worked really well for me. And I think it's really holistic. It helps everybody is my point. And it's fun for everyone. And so I've been approaching my marketing, not to bring fun up again, but it's if it's not fun, I'm not here for it. So what's fun? What do I like? And I like people a lot. So I'm 99.99% extroverted. So that's what works for me. So yeah, again, I don't know if that answers your question, but
I love that. No, it totally does. I love that. So where can people get started on your program?
So I wanted to gift your audience with the Create Your Perfect Weight Loss Plan. This was the thing when I was in my dieting days, my yo-yo drama. This is the thing that I wished so badly I had. So this will get you started for free, and you can just go to plan.lauraconley.com. And my name is LauraConley. So plan.lauraconley.com, and you'll get that for free. Usually we charge for it. You guys are obviously—
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so—
And we'll put that in show notes too. So you guys can actually just scroll down into the show notes and click on the link.
My marketing person was like, I don't know. And I was like, you know what? I don't care, because this is the thing that I would have wanted so bad when I was struggling. So, again, yes, we use marketing strategies. Yes, I have an amazing marketing director. And sometimes I just want to make what I want to make. And that is this. And that is the thing that I think will help your audience the most. Obviously, your people are podcast listeners. So I have a podcast called the Yummy Mummy Podcast with Laura Conley. My website is lauraconley.com. And my Instagram is Laura Conley Coaching, which Chris is we got to change that to the Yummy Mummy. So
yes, we do. Yes, we do. But you know what I love the most? Your generosity is awesome. So it's plan.lauraconley.com. lauraconley.com is where they get the freebie, right?
Yeah.
I love that. We'll put that in show notes for sure. All right. Well, we got one final question here for you. So because we call this this series, just like you, we feel like you can see yourself in a lot of our listeners, right? So what do you think makes you just like our listeners? And what advice do you wish someone would have given you that you can now give them?
Okay, this is the best advice. And this is what I wish somebody had told me like when I was 16 years old is you really can weigh what you want, love your body, and have a chill relationship with food. You really can. You are not a special unicorn. You are not broken. There's not something wrong with your thyroid, right? You don't have just genes from Ireland, from potato people. No, you really can weigh what you want. And going after your dream come true weight doesn't mean you don't love your body. In fact, it might mean you do love your body. I know I was ignoring my intuition for so long. My intuition was like, this isn't healthy. We don't weigh what we want. We want to weigh what we want to weigh. And I kept ignoring it because I, as a yoga teacher, especially, I thought I was just supposed to love my body at any size. But the ironic thing is the things I was doing, like stuffing my face with pizza and like ignoring my feelings and not taking care of myself, caused me to not weigh what I wanted. The little acts of betraying myself, abandoning myself, caused me to have the extra weight. So going on this journey was the greatest act of self-love that I have ever given to myself. And I just want to offer that to your listeners that like, this isn't vain. This isn't superficial. This is real root work. And on the other side, you will have so many unexpected gifts in addition to you weighing what you want. So
I freaking love that. Laura Conley, you're amazing. Now I'm like 100 times more excited to even see you than I was at the dinner series next week. Literally can't wait.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited.
Like these are the moments where you really do realize that we are all the same. And it's sharing the struggles and how we got through that truly bonds us. And that's why this podcast is really important to us to share that with everyone, is just listening to the people who are maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of you, who've got it figured out, and reach back and say, hey, I want to help you. And that's what you've done with your business. And I love that. So we're so excited and grateful that you came on the show. You guys go and check out the show notes below. Everything is linked, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for being on. We appreciate you.
Okay, so you guys know that I am a podcast junkie. It's how I changed my life in the beginning, especially when you don't have cash. So how would you like to learn from the #1 sales funnel expert on the planet? Now you have a chance to, without his usual $25,000 price tag included. You guys, meet Russell Brunson. He's the New York Times bestselling author of 3 books and a serial entrepreneur in a class of his own. Russell's in the trenches every single day, creating multi-million-dollar offers, running a 9-figure company, and growing a mass movement of entrepreneurs who are changing the world. As the co-founder of the 9-figure funnel building software behemoth, ClickFunnels, I'm sure you heard of it, he gets a behind-the-scenes look at over 150,000 entrepreneurs' sales funnels to see what's getting people to whip out their wallets across every market you could imagine in real time. And on his podcast, Marketing Secrets, he not only shares the tactics, strategies, and formulas he's using to grow multiple 7-figure plus companies, he also sits face to face with other high-level entrepreneurs ready to spill their secrets of success too, all so you can profit from their insider tips on driving traffic, boosting conversions, and telling your story in a way that changes the world while building you a massive business. So what are you waiting for? Stop what you're doing right now. Go subscribe to the Marketing Secrets Show. Trust me, Russell's energy, expertise, battle-tested strategies, and world-class guests will keep you coming back week after week. Get ready to transform your marketing game and unlock the secrets to building a wildly successful online business. Subscribe to Marketing Secrets now.